What's happening, guys, and welcome back to another Sunday Scan. We have a ton of exciting announcements into Black Friday this year. The first one is that for the last probably 4 or 5 months, we've been working extremely hard on a new trading course called the Legends Playbook. This is the first time that this is being announced, but we've been working with some of the top traders in the entire world, including people like Lance Breitstein, including people like Stockbee, like Greg Shabika, like Phil Gettiker, so many people who have made millions or tens of millions of dollars. And the idea of this course was to get them to share one setup that really defined their success in great detail. And so basically this course is each of those 8 participants that are in it sharing a favorite setup from start to finish with every detail that you need to know in order to trade it. So there's nothing out there like this. And I say this without exaggeration, that this can be a complete game changer for someone's trading, especially if it's someone who's not necessarily a beginner, but someone who's a little bit more intermediate. They know how, trading works. They're familiar with it, but they need more setups in their playbook. There's no better way to get, very proven setups that have made all these traders millions and millions of dollars than by them sharing those setups directly with you. So we did very, very in-depth interviews, and we have visuals to go over all the concepts. And so we're going to get into a trailer for the Legends Playbook, and we will play that right now.
Hey guys, I'm Jack Kellogg.
I'm Lance Breitstein.
I'm Phil Gettiker.
My name is David Hanlon, and this is the Panic Dip Buy Setup.
And this is the flat base breakout.
Among the $7 million in traded profits that I've made over those 10 years, this first Reddit has accumulated for over 30% of those profits. So by all means necessary, it is the main setup that I have leaned on for most of my career.
I want to try and get all the liquidity I can there, assuming I'm able to get out of that position without slippage.
So you're looking at almost 100% return with very minimal downside if you're cutting your losses quickly on this 40-cent break.
But I was really good at understanding that the herd and the crowd would go looking for the second name that would follow.
So then that stock makes a very explosive move. So in a one trade, you can move your account in a very large increment.
As far as the setup themselves, it's going to work 100% of the time. The hard thing as a trader is to know, when do I enter that trade?
The truth is, I spent many, many years studying trading systems. The proper interpretation is vital.
This was literally the pattern that took me from being a wannabe day trader into a full-time profitable day trader.
So I hope that you're as excited for this course to launch as I am. This gets released on Black Friday. We will have early access to purchase the course, but it will start streaming on November 28th, but you'll be first in line if you get it now. IU is also running different bundles that makes the course almost completely free if you get a bundle that includes some of the other courses and some of the membership options. So click the link in the description and in the comment section, and you'll be able to see all the Black Friday deals. Some of them are around the Legends Playbook. Some of them are around all the courses. Some of them are around the IU subscription, annual, quarterly, a bunch of different options there. And then also stay tuned in early 2026 because there's another project coming that is going to be available to all Investors Underground members and is going to be a complete game changer as well. So make sure that you lock in your prices now because everything's about to be very exciting in the near future. So you want to make sure that you're in while you can be. So let's get into Sunday Scan for the week. I will give the disclaimer now that none of this is financial advice, and I'm not a financial advisor. Everything that I'm going to talk about is for educational and informational purposes only. Now let's get into Scan. So the volatility in SPX and SPY really continues. We had a huge unwind in a ton of speculative momentum names over the last couple of weeks, and you can see that starting to trickle more and more into the major indices now. You can see a clear change from an uptrend into a slight downtrend. We've talked about how corrections are normal and healthy in markets, and it's not so much about trying to predict where the market's going to go all the time. It's more about recognizing what kind of market regime are we in. What is the action? What is the path of least resistance? And that's really where I try to focus my efforts. So you can see in SPX and SPY and QQQ as well, just this big, downtrend. You can see if you were to draw trend lines around here, we're just kind of chopping around, making lower highs and lower lows within that. And so until something really changes, I think that we're going to be in this correction for, maybe another week or couple of weeks, depending on some of the news that comes out. So you can tell the strength of the correction by how the VIX is acting sometime, especially if people are anticipating a lot of forward volatility into the December Fed meeting as we get new economic data, as the AI bubble is back and forth of is it burst, is it not? NVIDIA had good earnings, but still sold off. There's a lot of factors going on. But when people are pricing in a lot of volatility, the VIX spikes on that. And so let's get into a couple of names that were really moving well over the last week. And I'll just recap some of the trades on them, and then we will get into the main watches for the week. So SNDK, this was a massive mean reversion trade. I had some very nice trades on this with puts. We talked about, identifying trends as they're in motion. And this was really the memory sector of the AI trade. So, it was part of the AI trade. It had relative strength. You could see a nice trend here. The trend starts to speed up, and then it goes parabolic. And then this was the first mean reversion trade here. And then it came back up, retested, rejected. The market got heavy. All the memory names got heavy, like MU and some of the other ones. And then that was the full mean reversion. I believe that took place on Thursday or Friday. But yeah, just a big move down there, almost 20% or so. And this is more akin to some of like the SMCIs, the MSTR, parabolic mean reversion trades that we've seen in the past, where they have that blow off top, they reject, and then basically make a big mean reversion and possibly a trend change from there. So some really nice trades there that we had in Investors Underground. BE, a similar situation. So everyone knows that I've been swinging this one on and off. This has been a nice trend for a long time. The AI power sector has really started to unwind. And so I exited the swing and I tried to re-enter and got stopped out again, but it still had some really nice trades on this for a bounce trade off of a capitulation. So I'm going to walk through a little bit of what that was and how I traded it. So basically, I've talked about bounce trades and capitulation trades a lot. I actually have some YouTube videos about how to do them, but I'm going to walk through the thought process. So when I'm looking for a capitulation trade, so basically capitulation is a term that means to formally surrender. So when, people have been in a stock, a lot of longs have been in a stock for, sometimes for good reasons, sometimes for bad reason, whatever it is. But if they've been in a stock for a while, you have a lot of built up longs in there. And so what happens is that if you get a piece of bad news or a sector unwinds, you usually get some very rapid, very violent moves down. So you can see the first leg down here over the last couple of days, and then some consolidation, then the second leg. So what I'm looking for in a capitulation trade is where would all the longs from the recent trend be stopping out, and stopping out all at once, sometimes mechanically so, which just means that if they were to have stops in the market, or anyone with a reasonable risk tolerance would be like, okay, I got to reassess to see if this still makes sense to be in here. So after we've had a huge, multi-day move to the downside, now I'm looking for that to speed up. And so you can see this was just a steady liquidation of, people selling and possibly some funds getting out into here. You could see the heavy selling on volume also included in there. So now this is getting on my radar. This trend was not only, it's down a lot, but it's also starting to speed up to the downside. So what I'm looking for now on something like this is I want to understand this trend as it starts to speed up. So whether that's drawing trend lines down here and maybe another trend line down here, just understanding that there's a supply demand imbalance to the downside. And what I'm trying to do is waiting for that supply demand imbalance to break. And so as it starts to make a low, I start to see some of these wicks over here. The volume starts to lighten up a little bit. So after, this is like capitulation volume, huge volume selling into that. But now it starts to have a change of character. And even if you had something as simple as some trend lines on here, that could really tip you into when this is starting to make a turn. And this is kind of like the right side of the V setup here. And so capitulation down here, I started to enter mostly with calls around here, around the 77 area. And then we were able to get some really nice bounces up into the high 80s with that trade. So one of the best trades of the week for me between that and SNDK. And so it's like, even if I've been swinging this name, even if I stopped out, there's still plenty of opportunity if you just remain unbiased and just understand that this is a stock in a market. I don't care about this stock at all. This is just a vehicle for trading for the most part. Yes, when it's trending nicely, it can be a good swing vehicle. But at the end of the day, I'm not looking to be right on stocks. I'm looking to make money on stocks. And so when my trend changes, or when the trend of the stock changes from a nice trending swing trade to more of a capitulation sell-off, I have strategies for that. And so I just adapt my mindset to where is the best expected value in this market and in this trade. And it's no longer on the swing side, for the recent weeks, but more on the bounce trade there. So possibly this firms back up and we get some more continuation, but this was really the trade that I want to go over. Identifying when something has already been sold off a lot, the whole market is selling off, and this is capitulating, everyone's stopping out, and then it stops going down, starts to get some of those wicks. You can draw some trend lines, and then basically you enter somewhere around here and have your risk set right below the low of the day. So you can have $2 of risk, and if you're right, you make $8 or $10. So it's a good reward to risk ratio there. Another name that has been in play is this Google. So this had news that Berkshire Hathaway took a stake in it recently, and they also released some new chip news. And so basically they're becoming just a powerhouse, not only of the Mag 7 names, but in the AI names, but at a reasonable valuation, a ton of growth. And now they have the Berkshire stake in it. So basically a confluence of things going in its direction. So even though the market has been heavy, this has held up pretty well. And if the market starts to recover at all, this will be a top watch for continued upside there. NVIDIA, we had some good comments on this into the earnings release. So they had good earnings, they had good guidance, but we're still talking about how I thought that they would have a big earnings rejection after that, almost regardless of it. It was a little bit of a weak reaction after the initial move. And then in Investors Underground, I was saying that I think that some of the AI CapEx that some of the Mag 7 names have been doing, that might be peaking for a little bit, at least at the rate of change that they've been doing. So if they've been investing, companies like Amazon and Meta and everything, if they've been doing 50 billion, 70 billion, 80 billion, I think, that rate of change might be slowing down now. So maybe it's 80 billion and then 80 billion again, maybe 60 billion, and then maybe that will start to go down. Some of these companies have to start, they're starting to borrow money to actually fund some of the AI CapEx. And I don't think the market likes that very much. We talked about that with Meta, how that was a big, headwind for it as it sold off, over 20% in the last month. So some of those things led to my conclusion that I thought that NVIDIA would have a big earnings reject, and NVIDIA is such a big part of the SPX and SPY that is close to 8% or so, that I thought that would drag down the market a lot if that did reject. So just another point of kind of confluence when you're looking at different names and different sectors. Palantir, the same thing, an old market darling, really, really coming in from 210 or so to 150. That's a good size correction now. So maybe we'll find some stability here. And I don't really have a trade plan for this name in particular, but it's more just the concept of, even these good stocks, even these trending stocks can, come in a huge amount if they are reaching, nosebleed levels in the valuation sector. So you can still have something maintain a multi-year uptrend, but in the meantime, it can chop around a lot as that valuation gets compressed. SMR, we talked about how a lot of these names, the nuclear names, just completely fell apart. I mean, that is like a full mean reversion. That's erasing the entire trend. So things like that, Oklo and some others were also extremely hard hit. So that's something to be aware of, that just where we are in the cycle, that this has been a key momentum name that has fully unwound now. Crypto carnage. So Bitcoin fell to a low of about 80K. And, as someone who's, I've been through a lot of Bitcoin cycles, and I've observed a lot of this behavior. And I've also been, I've been a little bit surprised of how some of the reactions are to these big Bitcoin sell-offs. Maybe it's just because people expected, like, once the ETFs got introduced, or once the administration was friendly to it, that it would dampen a lot of the volatility. But Bitcoin's still at $85,000. In 2022, it fell to as low as $16,000. We are still up over a broad trend. Like, this should not be, in my opinion, like panic, like capitulation. Like, people should not be blowing up when Bitcoin is at in the mid 80s, like $80,000 per Bitcoin. Like, that is still, like, during a good cycle. Yes, it might be a low within that cycle, and yes, it was coming from 125K, but I think it's just a testament that people should not be using leverage or other things, that if they actually are trying to trade this or hold this through some of these things, the volatility of Bitcoin is frequently 40%, 50%, 70% in some instances. And if you have leverage on a position like that, if it's in the nature of an asset class like that you're going to get blown out or stopped out or something if you're using leverage. So if people have a small, reasonable sized position that they have at good prices, and that they're selling pieces of that into strong prices, there's different strategies around the whole thing. But I've been really shocked at the amount of carnage that's gone on in crypto. Coin is still in the mid 80,000s, and that's just prices of within the last year or so. So I think it's just a good reminder that keep in mind that the volatility of an asset class doesn't tend to change that much, regardless of how long it's been around. Yes, it can get dampened a little bit, but don't forget what the nature of something like that is and the violent moves that it can have. And you can see names like MSTR. That is a full cycle unwind right there, whereas it was trading at a huge premium to net asset value, and now it's just kind of reality is coming in, and it is sinking back down to probably around what the net asset value should be. So yeah, I'm not really making a call on Bitcoin one way or the other, but more just observing that this is a very, very typical action of Bitcoin. We've seen it through, 2017, 2020, now 2022 and 2024 and 2025. It's just the same thing over and over again. And, some of these people on social media that are, just trying to get you to diamond hand or to, go all in or use leverage, all these things, they're not looking out for your best interest. And you have to be, objective about what is the volatility of an asset class, even if you're bullish on it long term. If you do not structure your trades properly around that, you can still have a bad outcome, even if you're ultimately right in the end. So I say that as someone who's been caught in many of those cycles in prior years. And so, you try to learn from them, you try to be more objective. And so I understand that a lot of people are probably struggling with, some of the cyclical nature of some of these things now, but just be aware that, you can learn from this, you can grow from this, and people can still do very well, even during, some rough periods. Another name on watch is Baba. This has earnings on Monday or sometime in the upcoming week. I'm not exactly sure. It might be Monday or Tuesday. But a lot of the Chinese names have come in a lot. PDD and some other ones have come down, especially if this is related to the AI trade. You could have a violent reaction. If it's good earnings, you could potentially have a big gap up and that gets rejected, similar to NVIDIA. Or if it's bad earnings, then look out below, because you can get into some violent moves while the market is like this. KZIA, a little small cap company on watch for the potential liquidity trap, had an initial move around here, had some good volume traded with it. And then you had a more recent move down here, where you basically had a big volume day and it's consolidated for 2 days now. And so maybe Monday or Tuesday, if it breaks above those highs, you get into a nice liquidity trap situation. Let me do a little bit more of a granular view on something like this. So for anyone who's not familiar, liquidity trap, big volume day, shorts walk it down. And if it starts to reclaim some of these levels, and that 850 is really the key level, you can start to squeeze out some of the shorts that are in there. So that's something to be on watch for. And the way that I like to position into these is to either, identify and try to get little pieces at the bottom end of the range when it starts to trend change from a downtrend to an uptrend, or you can wait for levels to reclaim and buy some dips against that. And then as it starts to work, hopefully, you can take some profits. Or if you're doing it intraday, you can wait for some nice dip and rip candles to use as a risk level there. I'll put up to a slightly higher time frame just so you can see this a little bit more clearly. So yeah, the idea is big move up there, consolidation, trend change, reclaims the level, squeezes out. Okay, and then another name on watch is ASML. If the AI trade continues to unwind a little bit, this has some room to the downside, in my opinion. This is probably a better one for put options than short equity, but it's just one to have on watch. Another one is Walmart has had relative strength coming up into the holiday season. So a lot of times the retail names do very well into kind of these big holiday pushes, Black Friday and some other things due to some of the sales that they have and the high traffic that they get. So that'll be on watch for continued upside and relative strength, especially if the market gets a little bit more stable. And then Netflix on watch for downside. They did the split, and so now after that, that's usually like the best catalyst for a while, and it can really unwind into some other levels, especially if the market stays heavy. So a little bit of a quicker scan today, but I really wanted to just go over the concept that these are volatile times, but incredible trading opportunities if you're with a community that has strategies to deal with that. And so I highly encourage everyone to check out all the Black Friday deals that Investors Underground is running. And again, check out that Legends Playbook. I say this without hyperbole or without over excitement that this can change your life. This can change your trading, learning these setups from these top traders. This is not random people online trying to give you trading tips or things like that. These are people who have like Phil Gettiker, who turned $5,000 into $50 million. These are traders who have been around 20 years and have battle tested every single strategy basically out there, and they lock on to the ones that work, and they know them inside and out, and they know every detail about them, and now they're sharing those. So if you're looking for new setups to add to your playbook, if you want setups for long, shorts, options, everything, check out the bundle package of the Legends Playbook, and that could really, really change your trading and change your life potentially. So that's all I have for this week. And again, thank you everyone for tuning into Sunday Scan. I hope that you like, share, and subscribe this, and we will see you in IU in the week ahead. And then also, final reminder, it's a short week, so the market is closed on Thursday, and then it has a short trading day to 1 p.m. on Friday. So I hope that that is helpful for everyone, and we will see you in the room ahead.